My left video just went viral.
I'ma strike back and take your whole empire. Spontaneous combustion. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. I'm on.
Hello and welcome to the Tech Disruptors podcast. My name is Darren. My lovely co-host is named.
My name is Jason.
And we have a very special guest in the house today. We have Mark from Soldier Knows Best. How's it going, Mark?
Yeah, I'm doing good, How y'all doing?
Good, man. Thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate you joining us here in this lovely Sunday afternoon. I know there's a lot of sports and everything going on right now. So I know Jason's over it because his team was champions, right, Jason?
Well, in college, yes, Ohio State.
College level.
But the Browns and the Bengals are out in the NFL, so there's no point in watching. Kansas City will win it all because they get. Never mind. We'll move on.
That's controversy.
Yeah, there's controversy.
We can't have your city there win too much, Jason. All right, let's just calm down.
That's true.
All right. So Mark, welcome to the show. So we are a show that talks about tech of the week. We go through some fun, crazy stories that have kind of caught our attention. And we are going to talk about the Samsung event, which I know Mark fortunately went to. We didn't get the nod, but that's okay. We were looking from afar and pointing and laughing. But
It's always next year. Always next year.
Always next year. So let's start with you, Mark. Just for those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, how you got involved in that world.
I started making tech videos on YouTube in 2007 and started with the very first iPhone because it was a mystery at that point as far as how successful it will be and stuff. So I started with that and just kind of got the bug for it. And then I went full time a few years later. And since then, I've just been covering all types of things, Apple, iPhone, but now I'm just really doing anything from generators to e-bikes to anything with any type of electricity running through it. And I'm based out of St. Louis, and I'm just excited, man. Just chilled and enjoying the ride.
Love it. Now, Jason was checking out your channel today, and he was actually surprised, and I'm maybe putting words in Jason's mouth here, about just the variety of tech that you cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was pretty impressed with that. So they always say when you make my YouTube channel is a lot smaller, but like you had that niche and you got to find it. And it sounds like you're saying iPhone was kind of that first spark. But I mean, what's the process by going from something that's so, pinpointed to more narrow? And has it benefited your channel?
So it started. I've been doing this for almost, coming up on 20 years and pretty soon. So I went through my phases of first starting and no one knew what anything was going to be. So I just started just because it was fun as a hobby, and then learning about being able to monetize it and make a living off of it. And then I hit burnout periods and just different things that happened where I stopped making videos because it's a grind. Like I was grinding 7 days a week doing it. And when I came back, I'm now focused on trying to do as much as I can to avoid burnout. And so for me, talking about the same thing over and over again, it just doesn't work for me anymore. It does work for other channels and things, but it just doesn't work anymore because I feel like I'm being forced to just talk about a product or a brand or a company, even though it does work with my audience. But for me, I will eventually stop making videos if I get burned out more and more. So as far as like the performance on the channel, it has hurt. Like I know my audience really wants to see more Apple content, and I do want to give them more than what I have been doing. But with me covering some of these other products and brands that aren't as popular, I don't expect to get a lot of views. But what I have found is that, still go to the comment section and see people like, oh, I never heard of this. That's cool. Okay, I'll check it out. And even if it's just a few people or a few thousand people or whatever, that's something. That's the main reason why I started, is just to highlight products. So and then also just from the creator standpoint, most people cover smartphones and stuff. But these other types of companies, they have marketing budgets, but a lot of people ignore them because they're not going to get the views. But as brand deals and sponsorships, you can offset maybe what you're losing in AdSense and stuff like that. And that's what I've really found. And yeah, it's been fun. And I've been the most refreshed that I have been in a long time for the last 2 or 3 years when I started really taking this approach.
That's really
amazing.
interesting, and I
Yeah.
think that's a good advice for anybody getting into YouTube is and I never thought of that, you know, you start out being kind of into one topic, but burnout is a real thing. I mean, especially if you're doing it by yourself or a very small team, you can burn out really quick. I think
Yeah.
differentiating yourself, having those e-bikes, the scooters, generate whatever, it's all tech related, but they're different topics. I think that's a really good idea to keep people from burnout. I recently started doing like some computer building, which I used to do, but I didn't think it'd be popular. My first video, which for me hit pretty good. I'm like, wow, people really want to see this. Everyone does this online, but I always look at it as there's always somebody out there that wants to see something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your channel, you know? So that's
Mhm.
interesting. I like that.
Yeah, I think like too in the tech space, especially when you're doing reviews of products, it's very easy to get burnt out. Like when you're reviewing slab phone after slab phone after slab phone, for example, it's easy. And I mean, I think I was reading somewhere today, someone was mentioning about how I think it might have been Ben Sin. He wrote in his article for the review of the S25 Ultra. He was saying that he can almost do these reviews without even thinking about it anymore because it's change here, change there, brighter screen, faster processor. And he was saying that like it's become a little bit boring, right? Like it can get very boring for a consumer. But as Jason and I have discussed in the past, it tends to be only us type of consumers. So the ones that are really interested in tech who really follow these things more closely than say others. And I think that's kind of where we see that kind of differentiating factor. I think that's why audiences appreciate it when creators try to do something that's not just one product all the time. I mean, look, I struggle when I do like right now. So December, January has been a lot of new smartphone releases. So I think with the OnePlus event, Honor, and a couple of other devices that I've been reviewing, I think in this month alone, I've covered like 4 different smartphones and I'm already going, I don't want to do anymore. I want to try and change it up. I want to do something else.
And that's why people get so boring with slab phones. I mean, like you said, you got 4 different phones, but are they really that different? I mean, yeah they're an Android, Apple's difference, but you get Honor, Vivo, OnePlus, and Samsung. Yeah, they're slightly different, but they're the same take on a different take on the same thing. I guess you could say. Yeah.
Now, Mark, I know for me personally, when I first started out, I review a lot of products like you do, different genres and different products. Now, can I ask you a question and I'll share you with what mine was? What's the strangest product you've been asked to review and you actually went ahead with it?
Strangest? Nothing too strange. I usually say no to the to a lot of the strangest stuff that comes in. And I think Marquez and I think Linus have done videos where they just say yes to everything, and that's always those are really fun to watch. But I would say kind of the oddball thing that I did was back in the day. It was like a bottle of vodka that had a little LED screen that you can customize. Like this is a long time ago.
Okay.
I mean, this is a long time ago. And so I did a video on that. That's like the kind of the safest, weirdest thing I've ever done. Yeah.
Because I know, like I mention this all the time, like early on when I was first starting out, I got asked to review camel's milk.
Oh yeah.
And and cases of this shit showed up at my house. And I mean like boxes of like freeze packed like camel's milk. And it wasn't something that I particularly enjoyed. But because I was just starting out, you always kind of get those really bizarre kind of requests like, hey, you want to try this? And I think for me personally, I think it was so weird that I just wanted to try it because, right? Like I wanted to see if this was a legit actual product that people were expecting people to buy. But yeah, it's always funny. Like I think not exactly kind of like limiting yourself to just one area is kind of a key to avoiding burnout. But also just kind of keeping the audience fresh for an audience too, right? So how much audience engagement do you have with your audience, Mark? Just at it, like, are you responding to messages? Are you kind of like reciprocating, I guess?
Not as much as I want to, because I'm still a one-man show and I get like so busy and stuff, and I'm not on social media as much as I used to, but definitely not as much as I wanted to. But those first 10, 12 years, I was very active. I used to do live shows on Ustream.tv back in the day.
Oh, wow, yeah.
For like 2 years. Yeah, one of my favorite people in tech was Chris Perillo from Tech TV and all that stuff. So as an ode to him, like for 2 years, I actually did a live stream out of my home office like nonstop. It was just the camera's always on. You see that a lot with Twitch now, but
Yeah.
I did that with Ustream, and I was just always interacting with my audience. So I do want to get back to that, but I do understand the importance of the audience, and and I think it's that struggle that you have giving the audience what they want, but then also doing what you want, and you just sometimes as a creator you just hit this like, okay, should I do this? And I've talked with creators who have did videos on products, and then they see that it failed, and they're like, man, I wanted to cover this, but I'll never cover it again because it didn't perform well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I understand. Like some people, it's super, super analytical, and they want to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's also unfortunate that they want to talk about other things, but the performance isn't there, so they choose not to talk about what they want to talk about. So it's a give and a take. But it took me a while. Like this is something that I just kind of learned over the years, going through the roller coaster. So it's just eventually you just kind of have to step back and look at what makes you happy, and then try to make sure you can, make your audience happy as well. Because I just find myself being a little bit more selfish. Back in the day, I was audience first. Now I am putting myself first a little bit, and it's unfortunately just a little bit selfish, but it's better just for my overall self. And I feel like I have been more active these past 2 years than I have been in the last 5 or 6.
Well, listen, I'll be honest with you. When people heard that you were coming on our podcast, buddy, it was the audience was loving it. They were messaging, liking the whole lot, buddy. So people love you out there. It's it's good to see that they like what you do, and I think that's the big kind of like challenge when you're trying to be a creator. Now, Mark, I'm going to ask you a question now. Now, what is the unicorn product for you? So let me explain what I mean by that. What is the one brand or product you always wished we could review, but you haven't had an opportunity to yet?
Ooh,
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Like who evades you? Like what brand or company? Like, because there's always one, right? I always say there's always one that you just cannot get a hold of, or like they don't return your emails. So brand or product, it can be either or. Man,
that is a very good question.
We might be able to make it happen. That's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, man, I haven't thought about that.
You want me to come back to it? You have to think about it throughout the show.
I mean, it honestly, I mean, back in the day, it was Apple, because Apple didn't really do anything with creators like they do now. It was one of those things too. But like back in the day, when I was like people considered me like a super fanboy. They still didn't do anything with us, but now they do. Now they work with us and stuff. So that was that one company that in the last 4 years, people can see that they have started reaching out more.
Open it up,
But right now, honestly, I don't like. I found that what's been working for me is either I do reach out to companies, but I actually found that what happens best for me if I am looking to get into a new category like power generators or e-bikes, like I have been, the competitors of the companies, the competitors of the bike that I reviewed yesterday, they're online watching. And so I did like one e-bike video, and now they're just like flooding my mail. So actually what works for me is just to do a product, and the competitors are watching once I do that video, and then they have a good chance of finding you that way.
There you go. So you heard it first. Now, so Mark, we're gonna talk a little bit about some of the tech of this week. But
I have one question.
But Jason has a question. I knew he had a question.
Yeah, this might be a dumb question. After now, we've heard you speak a couple of things about some stuff. iPhone or Android, or iOS or Android?
Oh, he's doing it.
It's seriously, I honestly, back in the day, I was mostly iPhone, but for the last 6-7 years or so, I switched like so much. So I found like in October, or late September, October, when the iPhone comes out, I use it up until around this point. And then now it's just so many Android phones that I'm reviewing. I put my main SIM in there, or download the eSIM now. And from now on until maybe it's just like to maybe, I don't know. It's like, honestly, now the way they schedule it up until the new iPhone comes out, so many new Android phones, I'm going to be mostly Android until like September or so, or actually until WWDC and the iOS beta drops. I usually switch over. So it's like every 6 months I'm switching my main phone over between those two. But I love them both. They're both so different now. But I tell people like, they're different, but also more alike now. So I tell people, if you've always been using an iPhone, you've been interested in Android, it's never been a better time to switch. Like you have that customization now on iPhone and stuff. But then same thing with Android. Like if you've been iPhone and you just want to switch over to Android, it's not as jarring of a jump as it used to be back in the day. So it's worth it. It's worth trying each of them once if you haven't.
Well, and I always tell people, Android and iPhone they do the same exact thing, just getting there is different.
Yeah.
It's like muscle memory. And I don't know about Darren, but I usually have two phones. Like you said, I have a main SIM and a backup SIM. So I always have the iPhone because I want to be in both camps. I tend to gravitate towards Android, but yeah, it's interesting. I assumed you were more of an iOS guy just by what you said, but I think you can't just be one or the other. You gotta have.
You gotta have a bit of both.
For
Worlds,
sure.
Yeah. When I'm traveling, I carry at least one of each.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you heard it first, people, right? He's sitting on the fence, but that's okay. No, I'm just kidding. Now, speaking of Android, I want to jump into our first story of the day. So there's a lot of Android brands out there that you may have heard of, but one of those brands that has been creeping up lately is Tecno. So they made some foldable phones, some flipping phones. You may have seen them at CES, MWC. But this week they released a really odd video, and I mean really odd video. And I'm just going to pull it up on screen here for you. So I want you to see this first.
It's kind of creepy.
So I'm going to hit play and then we'll talk about it. But I just so you know, this is a legit post on their social media account.
Want to practice with me?
I'm having a hard time getting it in.
It's fine. I mean, this is your first time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just try to take it slow and gentle. That's it. Trace around the edge super softly. And when you're ready, put it in. In my opinion, there's no need to rush anything. It's best if you go nice and slow.
I think I get it. Like this?
It's in there now. Now keep it there and slowly press.
That can't be real. Why would Tecno put that out there?
So that was posted on, I believe, their Instagram account this week. This was a legit video from Tecno.
So, Mark, what you don't know about Darren is he used to sell phones for, I'm not sure what the carrier was there in Canada, and he would show people how to charge their phones same exact way.
Like exactly,
in person.
I tried to replicate that video. No, I'm just kidding. But, okay, so let's try to break this down, unpack this for a second. So, Jason, I'll start with you. What do you think, sorry, Jace, what do you think was the thinking behind this? Like, was it meant to be funny or was it...
The question should be, was there thinking behind this?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, it's funny. I get it. Who in the world today doesn't know how to plug in a USB-C cord? I don't know.
I mean, maybe coming from an iPhone, an older iPhone, maybe they're using lightning cables.
This is going to sound wrong, but it all goes in the same.
It's true. It goes in the same hole. That's correct.
I'm just saying.
Now, did the PR person, I would love to know, the PR person who greenlit this and went, yeah, let's just put it out there. Let's just see what happens. I would love to meet this person because, my impression of that, and I'll shoot over to Mark in just a second, but my impression of that was, I think they were trying to be, dirty, funny, but also kind of witty. And I think they didn't kind of find the right balance there. It was a bit more of a 70, 15, 15 instead of 30.
How many views were on that post? It was.
I don't know because someone had brought it to my attention through X, but I don't know. But I'm sure that was reposted multiple.
And they got what they wanted.
Did they take it down? Is it still up?
Nope, it's still up.
Wow.
It was still there. Yeah. So, Mark, what's your impression of it?
I mean, I was laughing. It's funny. It wasn't like too dirty or too bad. I mean, I wouldn't want to play that, at work or something out loud. But it was like, I mean, I don't know. It's goofy. I'm a goofy dude. It's really goofy. Yeah, I don't know what they were trying to accomplish with that, but they got you laughing, and it does get you talking. You got to be careful though how far you take it, but it's something that I think it's just goofy. So,
well, Jason reached out to Tecno. He's offered his expertise to make a better video, a more appropriate video there.
Correct.
It's actually him plugging.
PC, of course. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it's just him playing.
The problem with that commercial was the actual plug wasn't protected.
This is true.
It wasn't safe.
Yeah. This is true. Yeah.
Good thing they didn't have any camel's milk, so
that's true. Exactly right. I mean,
it would have got messy.
If they just had it in the background, it would have been hilarious to me. But,
that would have been better. Yeah. Tecno, I mean, they're an interesting company because they make really cool devices. I mean, they're not always flagship devices, but they make to the point where I actually want to try them, but I don't think they work really good in the US. But I don't know. I mean, if you've never heard of techno, which chances are you haven't if you're in the US, and maybe
Yeah.
that got people talking. But the first time I watched that video, it was on mute, and I'm like, what the hell is this? I don't get it. Like, I really didn't understand what it was. And then I unmuted it, and my kids were around, so I had to mute it. So, yeah.
He actually turned the video off and just played the audio.
Right,
I was
right,
like,
right,
it's-
right,
yeah, his wife come busting into the room, wondering what was happening. Yeah, techno doing their thing. Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, again, if it gets people's attention, I get it. I think PR companies like to have a lot of fun with that sometimes, and maybe a little bit too much fun. Now, sticking with the same theme here, maybe not the exact same theme. So a post that came out today from Marquez, someone had asked, the Nothing Phone team had asked Marquez to design the perfect smartphone, like specs wise and so on. And he's actually just posted up a response to that. And I want to pull up this so you guys can we can kind of see how it rates with us as well in regards to what we think our dream phone may look like. So let me just bring this up a little here. So I don't know if you can see that at home. So this is Marquez. So he was asked by Nothing to design a 2025 dream phone. And this is basically, he did it even with the cost, approximate cost here. So the basic breakdown is 6,000 milliamp battery, okay, which is pretty standard for 2025, or at least I would hope it is. 6.1 inch, 120 hertz.
That's kind of small.
1440p.
Don't you think it's a little small?
I think Marquez likes
does.
The Pixel 9 Pro format, like the form. From what I remember seeing in some of his videos, that's the thing. But
Remember the Zenfone 9, or is it 10? I think it was a 9 or 8. It was like his phone of the year, small phone of the year, which there isn't a whole lot of choices, but yeah, I think he likes the smaller phone.
so, LTPO AMOLED display, S24 Ultra back cameras, which kind of surprised me. Pixel 9 selfie camera, okay, I get that. Terabyte of storage, 16 gigs of RAM, Snapdragon 8 Elite, the packaging. And he's saying that all of that would cost $500. Now, I don't know if that's him
Well, here's the small issue with this.
pissing into the
How are
wind,
you going to
but
fit a 6,000 milliamp hour battery
in a
and the
6.1 inch.
S24 Ultra cameras and a 6.1 inch frame? Because doesn't the S24 have that 10x optical periscope zoom and all
Yeah.
that? That's a tall order. It's going to be a thick device. That's for sure.
Now, okay, so most of these specs I would agree with. I would probably go a little bigger. I still think the sweet spot for a screen is 6.3, just given a little bit more size and my fat thumbs. Mark, how does this rate in regards to like a dream phone for you? Is this kind of what you were thinking, or would you go bigger, smaller? Would you change the cameras? What were you thinking there?
Yeah, I'll definitely go with a bigger screen. Around like 6.3 is actually would be a good sweet spot. And yeah, I don't need that much storage because I'm going to be upgrading.
Yeah, in a year.
It's my perfect phone. The next year I'm going to want another dream phone, so I'll probably I don't need that much storage, so that can cut down the price a little bit. But yeah, overall, yeah, the Snapdragon,
Elite, yeah.
the Pixel cameras definitely for selfies are really great. But yeah, I love the zoom of the Galaxy S24, S25. I do take advantage of that a lot, so I definitely would keep that just for that zoom capabilities. Or maybe you can kind of mix and match. Maybe you want the zoom that the S24 has, but maybe you like, the Pixel look of some of the other cameras. Then it gets messy though when you're trying to.
Yeah, but that's exactly right. Yeah, you're borrowing cameras from different brands there. Now, what about you, Jason? Oh, sorry, Mark. Go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm interested with this post and what they're doing here because honestly, it makes sense for Marquez to have his own phone eventually, and I think eventually he will. But in the video, I watched the Nothing video. They talked about just if he wants a custom OS and all this stuff, it's a lot of money that goes into it. It's going to take millions to be able to actually get this thing manufactured and stuff. But I could easily see Nothing in them doing a collab on the phone. It's one of those things. Why not? He's so popular, and
it seems inevitable.
Yeah, even if it's a limited edition, something like that. It just seemed that it's going to happen. And if I was a company, I would probably try my best to snatch him up and to make a limited edition or special edition phone with him.
Interesting. Now, Jason, what about you? How does this track with your dream phone?
I would probably go with like a 6.5. Obviously, 1440p. You don't need 4K like Sony was doing.
Yeah.
back cameras, I'm gonna have to go with Vivo cameras. But
Oh,
here's
100%.
but
You've
here's
read
the
my
problem.
mind.
It's not always the
Yeah.
camera; it's the computation photography that really makes the difference. So
Correct.
I love the Vivo X200 Pro, but I think it's the processing that we like. And I know
Yeah.
sometimes when I shoot a picture on it, it takes 3 or 4 seconds to pop out. Like I like that feeling because he's like, oh, I can't wait to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
But going back to what Mark said, he said this is inevitable. The problem with something like this, though, I feel that it's not a general phone that everyone's going to want to buy. It's going to be someone who likes exactly what he likes, and I
Yeah.
don't mind smaller phones. I don't know. Actually, I saw this. And I'm thinking, is nothing courting him? Like, are they opening their arms, saying, "Hey,
Ooh.
we'll work with you," and
We'll
they would
bring
be
it
a
in.
perfect fit because they are different.
Yeah.
He came from OnePlus, moved on to this, and it just a little bit different. One thing I noticed that Marquez didn't ask for was a glyph interface.
Yeah.
Where are the
Yeah,
lights
but
in the back?
I don't particularly like. I mean, looking at the render, and I'm sure this was just done for the post.
Right.
If it was fucking square like that, it would be going straight in the bargain bin. I fucking hate that design. I didn't like it on the S24 Ultra design. I'm glad the S25 Ultra has curved off those edges because it wasn't for me. I know it looks nice and futuristic and whatever,
Yeah.
but I would not want a squared off design like that. Something that's got a bit of curve, I like. It just feels nicer in the hand.
Well, and it's not gonna be iOS, obviously, and it's not gonna be a
No.
custom OS. It's
No.
got to be a skinned Android. I mean, that's the least amount of friction. Coming up with your own OS would be almost
Crazy, yeah.
Nowadays, it would be impossible. I mean, look what happened to Microsoft. I mean, there's
But you know-
Linux and Sailfish and all those other ones out there running around, but there's not many options besides iOS and Android.
Now, can I just tell you the one thing that pisses me off the most about this post? He didn't mention throwing in a fucking charging brick. And that annoys me. All right, listen, if you're going to spend even $500, like let's say that charging brick cost $11, like as a generous estimate, and that would be a fast charging brick, which is probably what they make them for. I think he should have put that in there. I almost feel like you need that in there just to kind of top off the package.
Mark, do we need charging bricks anymore included with the phones?
Yes, we do.
I would say the phones that are pushing for the faster speeds and stuff, yes. And
Okay.
unfortunately, with the iPhone, it's been the same. Like the speeds aren't, but like with OnePlus and all these other companies, like I love that OnePlus still does it. But and it's a coincidence that they also have some of the fastest charging speeds, wireless
Yeah.
and wired. So I think yeah, once we see like Samsung with the S25 Ultra didn't, they're still lagging behind OnePlus with that. But if they next year, hopefully they do, I would love to see a charging brick in it, just so you can really take advantage of the speeds out of the box instead of the average consumer not knowing that the charging brick is what you need, is one of the most important parts for you to get those advertised speeds. And if you don't have it, they might just go and get their old iPhone charger and wonder why it's not charging as fast.
Well, we talked about that in the past, though. It's like we want to save the whales. So
Yes,
if we include charging bricks, we're not saving the whales. That's the biggest concern, right, Darren?
That's exactly right. If we're not saving the whales, then what are we doing, right? That's kind of what it boils down to.
It's
So,
all about the whales.
but it's interesting, like the concept. I know we talk, like the other creators talk about their dream phones, but I think at the end of the day, I mean, we always say, the best phone you have is the one that's in your pocket. But I think at the end of, you're never gonna get it perfect. And I know for us, like that love tech, and I always think about this a lot when I buy a phone. You always want that one device that just is locked in, and it's yours, and it's great, and it's as close to perfect as you can get. I don't think we're ever going to get perfect phone for us because we are always looking for the next best thing, especially like when you love tech like we do.
Right.
But it's an interesting concept, like a themed phone for a creator. Mark already.
Can you imagine every year they did one? Like Marquez, or they can stick with the big guns, Marquez and Linus and stuff, but then, open it up to other creators.
Mark wants one. Listen, if you're listening, Sony,
camouflage,
you guys, you're circling the drain, Sony. Mark needs one, all right? Let's go.
Well,
you got the parts bin.
Sony's not in the US anymore, so phone-wise.
True, yeah. It'd have to be the big players, like maybe Google.
So Mark is Sony's. There you go, Mark. You're gonna bring Sony back to the US.
Oh yeah, Sony. I'm bringing LG. We're gonna go all the way.
But you know what? So I was thinking about that, and it's funny when I saw that post. That's the first thing I thought of. I'm like, you know what? Bring LG back, and their first phone out of the gate is a creator-based themed phone. Like, let's give Marquez an LG fucking wing or something like that out of the parts bin that, all these little bits and pieces they got there, and just load it up with the latest shit and go, we're back. And just drop it on the website, pre-order only. They don't have carrier deals. You have to buy it from them. Kind of like the days of like OnePlus of old. You have to join a list, a queue. Then you can buy it. Like, I think fucking what a great idea just to kind of
like old school OnePlus, we had to get a coupon to get to buy it.
Coupons, fucking, you have to sign up, the whole lot, right? Yeah, interesting concept, right? Now,
come on,
Mark,
you guys, you have to agree, Darren, and Mark kind of already expressed this. As someone who loves tech, I would love to make my own phone.
Oh,
and I have
absolutely.
loud ideas, but we know it's you know how complicated that is.
Yeah,
that is not easy. Look what happened to Essential. They were a fantastic company. Now, obviously, there are some other things under the table, but I mean, they had everything. They were the first notch. They had all these ceramic backs and all these everything, and it just didn't work. It's hard to make it go.
Do you want to know the honest to God truth? I think if I designed a phone, I honestly feel like it would look like this.
Barbie phone?
It would be like the Energizer phone, where it's like 18 inches thick.
20,000 milliamp hour battery.
Yeah. So I honestly feel like that might unfortunately be the result of my design language, probably with a glossy back, because I forgot that I needed to make it matte. Probably not even glass. It's going to be fucking plastic. But now, speaking of Energizer, this is a beautiful segue.
I was waiting for it.
High five, Darren, on this one.
That was good.
Energizer have just released a $199 laptop. Now, I didn't believe this until I read the article. I wasn't sure if I was reading some kind of like trolling laptop, fake article. But so basically, they're calling it the Energy Book, which I think is probably the dumbest name I've ever heard for a laptop, but that's cool. We'll stick with that. And now they're basically saying, so here is basically what we know. So these are some renders came out a little late earlier on this month. And basically it uses an Ultrabook inspired design. Energizer logo everywhere on it, which I'd imagine exactly what it was going to be. It has 2 USB Type A ports, 1 USB Type C port, an HDMI port, an audio jack, and what appears to be a card reader, an SD card reader. USB 4.0, not 3.0, which surprises me. We don't know exactly too much about the size and specs, but it could be a 15 or a 17 inch, and it's going to have a 128 or 256 gigabytes of storage. And it's meant to be coming in the first quarter of 2025. And they're saying that the starting point is going to be $199, and it could be running a basic version of like the Chromebook OS or Linux on the laptop itself. Is this going to shake up the market for cheap laptops, or is this just going to be a pipe dream, Mark?
Wait, so Energizer, are they partnering with someone? Wait.
It doesn't say. Like it's a French company. We know they're a French company, Energizer. They just, I'm assuming they probably got someone on here. It says here that they, Avenir Telecom. I'm assuming that's a French telecommunications brand. I don't know if they're backing them or if they're partly joint with this one.
Well, let me ask you something. Have you ever heard of Telly? Mark, have you ever heard of Telly? Telly?
I've heard of Telly, yeah.
They're a company
maybe, but I'm not too familiar.
They offer a 55-inch TV with another screen at the bottom that it's like a ticker, like your sports scores, news, weather, and it has ads all the time. The TV is given out for free.
Yes.
So the only thing I can think of is maybe this is $199 because they're going to introduce ads like some phones do to subsidize the price.
Interesting. That would be terrible. God, I would hate
it. Would be very terrible. But if it's not Chromebook, hardware like an N200 Intel, like a whatever Celeron equivalent. I don't know, but I have to tell you, I'm looking at it right now, and I love that thing. It's free, and the ads are small, and it works just fine.
Now, here's my question. Energizer is known for batteries. Is this thing just going to be a fucking battery monster? It's going to last for 3 weeks on a single charge.
It runs on 2D. It runs on 2D batteries.
Oh my god, yeah, 2D battery. That would be the funniest shit ever. You have to pull it out 2D batteries every 2 days because.
Does anybody even own D batteries anymore? That's my question.
Do they even sell them anymore? Yeah, I don't know. Is it something that's going to shake it up, Mark? Is this going to be the one? Is this it?
I mean that price. I mean that price seems very aggressive.
Yeah, right.
But like you said, like if I'm listening to an Energizer, hearing about Energizer laptop, the first thing that comes to my mind is the battery. Like it better be better
amazing.
than.
Yeah.
It has to be. That's the branding of it. If it has subpar
Yeah.
battery life and stuff, but yeah, it ultimately just comes down to the quality of life. If they are, supplementing the cost with ads and stuff, but if they are small and not in the way, then yeah, I don't think people would might not have a problem with it. But I'm interested to see their the specs on the battery life.
It's not a bad. I mean, looking at the render here, I mean, it doesn't look terrible. I mean, it looks like every other laptop, from
It's like
1991.
Ford. When the Ford
Yeah.
Maverick came out, was it the Maverick, the small truck? When it first
Yes.
came out, they made one. They said it's going to be under $30,000 or $20,000, and that $19,000 price was for, steel wheels, no extended
Oh, yeah,
cab,
nice one,
no
yeah.
no screen. So maybe, and they're only going to sell so many of them. So maybe this is like, hey, we're going to sell 1,000 of these to get interest, but the next step up is $500. People are
Yeah.
like, oh man, I didn't get that. Ooh, but $500, maybe I'll buy that one. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing things out there. I'm not a marketing guy, but
Well, listen, it's again, if it's Energizer, I mean, I know they're licensing the name this of Avenue Telecom, but at the end of the day, like, there's an expectation, right? Energizer makes batteries; it's what they do. Is it going to be the next greatest laptop, and everybody's going to be switching out of their MacBooks? I doubt it. But
isn't
I
their
mean,
logo a bunny?
Yeah.
So is there going to be a bunny on it?
Oh my god, I would
At
love
least a
that. A
wallpaper.
pink.
At least
Yeah,
the
at least a
wallpaper.
wallpaper.
There you go.
Yeah. Bonus, if you buy the laptop, that's what you can look forward to.
Yeah,
That's the
your
special bonus
customization.
gift.
Yeah.
Now, switching over to Google for a second. So, Google's known for buying up companies here and there and sometimes killing them off. Now, an interesting development this week in the VR space, Google has gone and purchased HTC's Vive VR team. So 250 million, man, that's the HTC hanging on to those patents there, right? But $250 million.
Wasn't HTC's phone company poached by Google too?
Correct, but this was a separate. So they're
Why don't they just buy all of HTC and get it over with?
I know. Bring back the M8. But anyway, I think so. When I saw this, my first thought was, okay, Google's coming back into the the VR space. They're gonna need a team that knows what they're doing, right? Because I'm imagining that Apple has probably poached most of them, and probably Samsung too. But they're going to need some people that know how to make a VR headset. And look, HTC's VR headsets have been pretty good the last few years, right? Like this has been a thing that's happened, right? But they're getting all of their extended reality IPs here. So Google is getting knowledge and power, I guess, to kind of make maybe a Google headset. Maybe not this year, but I'm imagining for maybe next year when they have the chip upgrade with TSMC. Is this an interesting development, Jason? I know you were a big fan of Google Glass. Is this the return of some kind of VR push from Google?
I like Google Glass when it came out, and I was a beta tester for it, and I thought it was amazing. But at the time it came out, I got looks everywhere. I couldn't go to the movie theater. People thought I was recording movies, whatever. The problem is like, and I don't want to jump forward too ahead, but at the S25 event, Mark was probably there. They did show off their new headset, and it looks like a Vision Pro. And right now, VR is owned by Meta. I mean, in my opinion, I'd say HTC and Valve were the first timers, like they built it from attached to computers and all that. I want Google back in the race, but I don't want another VR headset. I mean, Daydream, was it called Daydream? Was that what it was called?
Yeah.
Their VR, it died. The Google Cardboard was amazing. It was cheap, it's easy, and it was an intro to VR, and that got shut down. I hope they buy this and they do utilize it for AR. And when I say AR, I don't mean like camera pass through. That's what we are now. I'm hoping this is for the future where we have like what the Meta Orion, with the glasses that actually have an overlay. That's what I'm hoping for. And Google for sure, Apple, Google, Meta, those three companies have the money to do this. It's just a matter of getting the prices down where we can afford it. And I think buying HTC's VR team definitely gives them the patents for design that they really are looking for.
I honestly, that was my first thought. I thought here they're making a play. They're trying to kind of go, okay, let's bring in the team. Let's see what we can do with the help of a company that they've worked with before, right? Like they've worked with them before. They know that they can do this thing, and I don't know, like maybe even HTC. I'm imagining it probably got some designs hidden in the back shelf, like ones that they were going to release that maybe not there. And maybe Google's just going, you know what? It's already there. We slap a Google logo on the side and bingo, we have a headset we can release.
Yeah, they can test the waters. You know, it's again,
exactly.
I keep giving these automotive things, but like when Honda first made the Passport, which was it's an SUV now, they actually utilized an Isuzu Rodeo and slapped their name on it to see how it would do. So Volkswagen did the same thing with the Dodge Caravan. They slapped their name on a Dodge Caravan and made the first van. I don't know what it was called. So they do this to test the market. So it wouldn't be a bad idea.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I think definitely, when companies do this for the patents, for sure, it's a shortcut, trying to work around patents or come up with your own. Like even like I forgot what I think I saw it on Mac Rumors or whatever website that showed that Apple filed the patents for the Vision Pro so long ago. Like the patents that they had, and it looked pretty close to what it was. And it was like over a decade. It was a super long time ago. So this gives them that shortcut to be able to fast track. I think like, you guys are saying like going towards some type of glasses, which is the true future that consumers would be more likely to adopt. Glasses that fit in, sunglasses, because Meta and Ray-Ban, they're doing pretty like they're doing pretty good. And I think people know about them, and the execution is actually, doing pretty well. And I was a Google Glass fan as well.
There you go.
And still had mine, and I think it's there, but I think it's cool. I think we'll see. They'll probably do a headset, but I think this is just really just them trying to get to the glasses format faster.
Oh, absolutely.
Hold on. Yeah. Since he's a Google Glass fan, did you actually have the device? I'm assuming you did.
Yeah. So, I had it. Yeah.
My favorite device, I actually sold them and then bought them again. And it was towards the end, and I got screwed because they were starting to shut some of this. My best feature. Now, what was your favorite feature of the Google Glass when it was available?
It really is just the camera. Like I was like doing a lot of sports, and I just use it for that POV look. And I wore it before. So before my first burnout period, I actually did a video where I wore Google Glass for 30 days straight. I never edited it, I never finished it, but I wore it for 30 days straight. I had people come up to the mall in the mall and just like stare at me like I'm a cyborg. And it was like that awkwardness for the first week or so. But now, like, it was a very interesting.
You walk anywhere. Like when I was in Columbus, Ohio, like the big city, I was looked at, and I moved out to the country, and it was like, what the hell are you wearing on your head? I love the wink to take pictures.
Yeah.
Because I had kids, and I would like throw them in the air, and I wouldn't have to like know where my hands were at. But it was also kind of weird because you wink at people and like, what the hell are you doing? But I had the prescription glasses attached to it. I had everything. It was crazy.
Yeah, that first CES after they came out was funny because it was a decent amount of people, decent amount of us walking around with it, and it was
glass holes.
Yeah. I think that's, but like now, I think the equivalent of that would be the Meta. Like you see people with those everywhere now. Like, and
you can't tell. Like I wear mine all the time because they're prescription.
Yeah.
And if someone gets real close to me, they'll say, "Oh, is there a camera in there?" I go, "Yes, but it'll light up so you know it's doing a picture or video." Like the Google Glass didn't necessarily do that. Yeah. That's what was so suspicious about what this one does. So
Jason actually only uses his for his OnlyFans account. So it's just close-ups and
feet.
So on and so forth.
Yeah,
feet. Makes sense. Yeah. Now I know Meta this week also mentioned there was a thing about Meta saying that they're going to be planning a collab with Oakley, if I got that right. Let me just pull up this.
Yeah, but if it's those 90s style weird glasses, I'm not buying.
I
was never a big fan of those, even back in the day.
Okay, hang on. It's not letting me pull it up. Hang on 1 second. I think if it's going to be Oakley, I think that's the next big brand to kind of come out and say and kind of get on board. I mean, Oakley's been making glasses now for how long, right? Like forever, sunglasses, optical glasses, and they do an amazing job. Their lens technology is phenomenal with Oakley. So, if Meta's kind of tapping Oakley on the shoulder and saying, hey, we want some high-end glasses here, Oakley would probably be the company that could make it happen.
And definitely for like the outdoorsy, like for people who are shooting glasses or riding bikes. those type of things. And then, if you can integrate, that type of AI capabilities to give you information and eventually maybe have something in the displays and stuff or in the glass. Oakley's that brand for the outdoorsy because right now Ray-Ban is for your everyday casual stuff, but I can see them going something more athletic.
See, I can see them doing like a sports team, like get a sports like a baseball team on board. Baseball would be amazing with smart glasses because the players basically don't run, especially when they're fielding, right? So like you've got that perfect POV. Imagine watching like a baseball game where it switches over to the second baseman's point of view. Right, they could tag in.
Or an outfielder catching the ball. That'd be amazing.
Imagine how good that would be. So, I mean, I think I was thinking that too, Mark. Like, I think if Oakley gets on board and they're trying to make like a durable, like outdoorsy version of a smart glasses, I think that would be just amazing to see.
What about that one dude from the Olympics, the guy that was shooting very casually?
Oh yeah,
put some of those on him. He's just chilling.
So not the break dancer.
No, not the break dancer. Speaking of which,
the name was Ray Gun too, right? Ray-Ban should have jumped on that actually. Ray Gun edition. Yeah.
Now, hello to all of our Australian viewers today because it's actually Australia Day where they celebrate their Commonwealth Development Australia Day. It's actually the next morning there, but here in the US and Canada.
Actually, Darren, that's not correct. It's the celebration of Champions Day.
Yes,
in Ohio only. But,
sorry. Yes, still Australia Day. Okay, now before we talk about the Samsung event, I know we're running short of time here. I just want to quickly do a little RIP because today we've officially a company has officially come out and said we are no longer making these products, and that is Sony. So Sony has come out today and said that they are halting production on Blu-ray, mini DV cassettes. I didn't know they still existed. And mini discs, I also still didn't know still existed, but apparently they do. So Sony is no longer making physical, what do you call that? Physical hardware, forms of media. It's interesting. I think when a brand like this does this, I almost feel like this is going to have a bit of a snowball effect. And I don't know if you've been into like a Walmart or a Best Buy. Finding physical copies of DVDs these days are by no means an easy feat. And in fact, the section in those respective stores is getting smaller and smaller and smaller by the day, it seems. Now, is this a surprising move, Jason? Is this just the nature of where we're headed?
I mean, there's those diehards that still listen to vinyl, but vinyl came back. I think with DVD, VHS and cassette is probably a dead technology just because they wear out over time. Yeah. But I think DVD, CD, vinyl, I think those will have vinyl's already there, but I think CD and Blu-ray, all these things will have a resurgence. The only thing that won't come back is, what was the competitor to Blu-ray? HD DVD?
HD DVD,
it didn't work. An Xbox champion, that Sony champion Blu-ray. But we also got to say RIP to another company, Caseology, who shut down shop, I think, earlier in the week. But there's been a lot of kind of sad news. I mean, Blu-ray is still a big thing. Those diehard, cinema fans want that digital. Streaming always has, different bit rates. It's not as high quality, they say. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unfortunate reality of kind of physical media. Like, I mean, they just don't exist anymore, right? Like, people don't buy them; they stream now. I mean, I think Caseology and Sony killing off products in the same week is always kind of a bit of a scary kind of development, right?
I showed a Blu-ray DVD to my kids, and they called me a boomer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't even have Blu-ray drive. I got to play them anymore, but I still have some of my DVDs. They won't. They call me a boomer. So
I actually wonder how far removed do you think, of an age would it be that kids wouldn't even know what a DVD is? Under the age of 10?
My daughter, both my youngest is 10, and she doesn't know what a DVD is.
Jesus.
I've never used a DVD with her before. I mean, what's the point? You can stream everything.
Yeah. Well, I remember last week we were talking about, was it last week, Alien Romulus on VHS, right?
It wasn't last week,
right? They did a VHS release of the movie Alien Romulus, which was just a cool kind of thing. But I don't know, man. There are certain things that I think will come back, like vinyls make sense because people love music. Will we ever see VHS? Absolutely not. 8-track tapes, absolutely not. Cassettes, maybe, if they're kind of
So
looking.
you're
at
old enough to
retro
know what an 8-track is, huh,
track
Darren?
is. Yes, I do. I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
Mark, is it surprising, or is it just part of the world?
No, it's not. It's not surprising, but yeah, I think we will see special releases. I could see someone like a Christopher Nolan, like, hey man, because he's still like he's filmed
Yeah.
to the end, so I could still see maybe doing a special release or something. Yeah, it's sad. It is sad. Like with that and VHS, it's just sad to do that, but it is inevitable with the streaming services taking over and also going up in
I think we
price
got
like
a
crazy.
a Thanos moment there, right? Like,
Well, you think about it, you can have a Superman 30 Snyder cut.
there you go. Yeah.
You can put it on Blu-ray.
I think we might see it just with Blu-rays, especially like collector's editions. We have all the movies like
Yeah.
in the franchise. I think you might still have
Well,
that.
artists still do that. Like Linkin Park's a pretty popular band. They came back with a new singer and they released their new album on vinyl, or not vinyl, but on disc again, on CD, which is crazy, but people bought it.
And it's a little booklet,
Well, I mean-
the little like collectibles.
Oh
and
my
stuff
god,
like
I used
that,
to love those.
Yeah.
I used to read those, look at the lyrics, the photos. I was obsessed with that. That was my jam. But anyway, all right. Last but not least, let's talk about the big news of this week, and that is the Samsung Unpacked event 2025. So, Mark, you were there, right? It's the typical January event. So, before we jump into all of these releases, really quickly off the cuff, what was your favorite thing you saw them release at this event? What was the thing that got your attention?
Well, I mean, it's going to be the hardware. It's going to be the S25 Ultra, but more importantly, just my favorite thing of the phone is One UI 7. The software.
Oh, really? A lot of people saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very refined, and so many of the little changes throughout the OS make it actually the most attractive thing. And that also leads us to the one problem is that a lot of those features are going to be available to the S24 Ultra, so that it might cause some people to hesitate on going to it if they already have that. But the software of that phone is the best thing. They did show off the what is it? Is it the slim phone, the S25 Slim?
The Slim edition.
Was the Edge? Was the Edge?
Oh, Edge. Yeah, Edge. So that's man. I
Okay,
don't know.
you were there. You were there. But I was watching the live stream, and I swear I had to pause it because I was doing other things. But I swear they showed it for like 15 seconds, and I'm like, "What the hell is this? Oh my god, one more thing!" And then it was it. I'm like, "Wait, what was that?" They didn't say anything else about it.
Yeah. And, you should have seen the mess of people. Like they had it on display there, and just trying to get there. It was like so many people. You couldn't even like. I saw Marquez there.
So
He had his long arms trying to reach over.
Is this Samsung just trying to beat iPhone 17 Slim to the punch?
Yeah.
God, they're good at doing this, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know what I find hilarious too is that they did with the camera bar here, because there's talks of the iPhone's camera bar changing, right? Being
the Pixel-esque.
Like Pixel-esque. But yeah, I mean, I saw the S25 Edge. It's like, from what I understand, it's a budget device. Like, it's not meant to be like a flagship device. It's just meant to be a phone that has.
And that's the question: are people willing to pay more, maybe, or buy a phone that's slimmer just to get less? I'd rather have a regular phone. But if it's cheaper, it makes more sense. The price point's different.
I don't know. I mean, 6.4 millimeters thick. I mean, it's small. Like, it's thin. I mean, it looks cool. I mean,
they're gonna be dropped all the time and broke.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
Then someone puts a case on it, and then it just defeats
defeats
the purpose, right?
Don't you love it when, like, back in the day when the iPhone first came out, they put like a brick around it, and the phone was like 8 times the size of the phone. It was crazy.
Yeah.
What was it? What were they called? Defenders. What was this called? The
OtterBox was OtterBox.
OtterBox. Yes,
OtterBox,
the OtterBox.
Yeah. So, Mark, you've seen them, you've played with them. So a lot of people online are a little bit disappointed with the Ultra. But we know it's a lot of software, right? So I understand that this year it's a bit of an iterative upgrade. What was your impression? Were you impressed by the hardware, or was it mostly just the software for you?
It's mostly software. The Ultra is such a. It's a consistent device. You're getting quality with it.
Yeah.
But that's also at its detriment because last year's S24 Ultra is still great. And the companies are making these phones so good, and with the battery improvements, you don't need to upgrade. So it's actually against their best interest. But the hardware was great, but yeah, the software was the biggest thing for me. The cameras, the ultra wide is the one that got the 50 megapixel upgrade.
Yeah.
So that's good. The video recording at night is really, really good. But outside of that, from a consumer standpoint, if you already have the S24, the obvious thing is, yeah, you don't need to upgrade because some of the software features will be coming. But yeah, if you're 2-3 years out, it's going to be a very intriguing phone. But we're at that point now where hardware is specs, they matter, but they don't. And it's going to be, and I would rather have, if you can tell me that they use a 3-year-old processor, but they somehow use AI to maximize the performance, I could care less. It's old. I can care less as long as I get the performance and what I want out of it. And what we're seeing with all these companies, that AI eventually is just going to be able to upscale the cameras in photos anyway. So
Yeah.
they can probably use a lens from 10 years ago, but AI make it look like it's brand new. So we were
Well,
starting
Google
to see
did that for
And
many
it's
years.
cheaper
What?
for the companies. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Google did that for many years with the 12.2 megapixel camera they used in
Yeah.
for 5 or 6 years. But me and Darren have spoke with too. Like when the iPhone 16 came out, it was a very similar sentiment. Like, okay, the difference between them is they said Apple Intelligence was coming out and we had to wait a little bit. But
Yeah.
hardware wise,
Where
I
the
had the
changes,
15 Pro
yeah.
Max. I have the 16 Pro Max, and besides the camera button that I never use, it's kind of a boring device. And that's what the feeling I got with the But the difference is I think 7 UI is a pretty different than the last
Yeah.
version of UI. So I think that's why it stands out to a lot of people. And that's one reason why I have not ordered it, but I kind of want to just to try. But I don't have the S24 anymore either, so I'll never get it unless I get the newest version. So
Yeah, I mean, so that was the S25 Ultra. Now, one thing that piqued my attention was their Samsung's first Android XR headset, and they kind of like showed us what it would look like in person. Now, is it Project Muhan? Muhan? How do you pronounce that word? I have no idea. But this is what their version of it looks like. Now, this is just on mute here, but
it does look like
it looks a lot like a Vision Pro.
it looks
Vision
a little
Pro,
lighter.
Quest Pro, Vision Pro,
Quest
Pro,
Quest
yeah.
Pro
Yeah.
combination there.
If I had a baby, this is what it would look like. So,
Well, the Quest Pro,
Um,
yeah, I guess it does kind of look like that, doesn't it?
but again, it might be interesting to see, right? Like we're talking here. I think it's one of the first Android XR like headsets here that we're seeing. It does look lighter, which I think I appreciate, and I think that will probably go toe to toe with the Vision Pro.
Well, hold on.
Not that
Is it
yeah.
the same processor as the Quest 2? Or I'm sorry, the Quest 3 and the 3S?
I don't think they gave us a lot of information on the processor.
Oh,
I think
they
this
didn't?
is,
Okay.
I think it's just more of a here is what's coming.
I think they're more of a competitor for Quest because the Quest 3 does have AR with the cameras in the front. I don't
Yeah.
think the Vision Pro is really in the same league just because I'm not saying it's not worth the price. I mean, it probably isn't, but I mean, it's more of a luxury device. It sits way up top with.
Yeah.
This is not going to be. Well, we don't know what the price is going to be. Did they Mark? Did they mention anything about price at the event?
No. So that's the kicker.
Yeah.
How much is it going to cost? So if it's around 2,000, that's good. 2,500.
Yeah,
They can't go
yeah,
higher
right
than that. But it's. I think they're learning from the Vision Pro that there's people who want more, but you just have
Right.
to everyone is not going to pay that high premium. But if you can show how the quality is, it's tough.
Well, just remember-
more than 2,000 is tough.
Yeah,
Mark,
but when you have the Quest
yeah.
3 for $500, how the heck do
I know.
you
Why
justify
do you
it?
exactly?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Vision
crazy to
Pros.
me.
I watch movies on it all the time, and when I'm
It's
traveling,
better, yes,
it's
yeah.
and that's the one thing I think Apple messed up on is that they should have just advertised it as your best TV anywhere you take it.
Yeah.
And the Mac features and the all that stuff is great, but if people like big TVs, big screen TVs, and the Vision Pro it's just the quality is crazy, and that's the one
Yeah, but
thing
if
where
it was-
Meta doesn't have easy access to 3D movies and stuff right out of the
Yeah.
box. You can do it with Plex if you have a server
Right.
and stuff, but they don't have that. But with my Vision Pro, I have all those things that I've purchased, and especially with the Movies Anywhere, everything is already there. So
Yeah, but if the Vision Pro was $2,000, I think it would have sold a hell of a lot better. But they had a lot of R&D and time into it, so I understand why. And at the end of the day, they are a business; they've got to make money. Yeah,
but
I don't know. I had the Quest 3,
they
and
would
I
have had
love
to
it.
cut off. Yeah, but
Yeah.
they could have got there if they just cut out a lot of the extra stuff. I don't think we need the display on the front to show my eyes.
Yeah,
and that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like
Which is
they
creepy
coulda-
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, just focus on this is the best TV that you have, and it's better than the movie theater. You don't have to worry about people sneezing on you. Like I love going to a movie theater, but you think about the price of a movie theater now. Like it's up there if you're taking a family. Now the Vision Pro, it is singular, it's only one person, but yeah, they focus on movies next time with the next Vision Pro. That'll be good. But I think that's what Samsung needs to show, that just entertainment value of it, and that's the only thing you can really do to compete with
what the general person can use for. I mean, yeah, gaming is fun, but not everyone wants to game. Like you said, movies. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff out there. It really is.
Now, final thoughts here, Mark. Now, I know you were at the OnePlus event with me, and you were at the Samsung event. If you had to pick one phone to keep in your pocket for the rest of 2025, is it the OnePlus 13 or is it the S25
on the spot?
Ultra?
I would say just the one phone with how I use it and just power user and all that stuff. It will be the S24, S24, S25 Ultra.
S25.
Either or.
Too many phones this year. I know. I get it.
It would be that just because of everything you can do with it. But the OnePlus 13 is easily the better deal. Battery life is crazy. Display is great. That is the one, like, if you're not just like needing specific things like using the S Pen, sign contract, all this other stuff, that OnePlus 13 is going to be the best, I think, overall deal for most people. But that leads us to another problem. Like Samsung only gives out like S25 and S25 Plus review units to certain people. They always give us the Ultra, but I haven't experienced the S25, which is around the price of the OnePlus 13 to really, you know what I'm saying, to see it. So that actually might be the one that we should be comparing it to, but I haven't had a chance to try that yet. Well, at least, for review purposes.
That's a good point, because the S25 and 25 Plus might be better for some people, and they're probably damn good devices. They're just not the Ultra,
Well, listen, that actually brings us to the end of today's show. I want to say a big thank you to Mark. You were amazing, buddy. Thank you for coming on the show today. We really appreciate your insights. We appreciate what you do. And if you don't know Mark's stuff, please check him out. Soldier Knows Best. You can find him on YouTube, TikTok, maybe, possibly. But he's everywhere. And that's why we love Mark. Mark, we've got to have you back on at another point in the near future. And
for sure. Anytime.
To talk all the crazy tech that we and stories of the week. Now, Jason, any final thoughts? Anything you want to impart, knowledge you want to impart before we wrap up?
Well, it's something you already said. I mean, every new phone, every 2 months, a new phone's coming out, whether it's Apple or Android. The best phone and the camera is the one you have on you. So if you've got an S23, S24, don't spend $1,200. I mean, yes, they have good trade-in values. Maybe it's worth it then. But just enjoy what you got. Yeah. And that's the best advice I can give.
All right. And on that note, we are going to wrap up. Thank you very much for joining us today. You can check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, everywhere you find amazing tech podcasts. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Mark will personally send you a handwritten note if you do. There might be hundreds that he has to send, but we appreciate that. Thank you very much, Mark.